To say that there's been a Metroid drought since the release of Other M in 2010 is putting it mildly. It seemed as if that title put a blight on the entire series. But that wasn't the case at all. Fans wanted more Metroid, just not like that. And this was proven with Metroid Prime Federation Force, a fun multiplayer experience set in the universe, but not with the gameplay that everyone wanted. It was just the wrong timing. But now we have Metroid Samus Returns, a remake of Metroid 2 in the same vein as Zero Mission. The question though is whether this remake is enough to satiate fans. The game, much like the original, focuses on the Galactic Federation's decision that the Metroid threat is too great after the initial incident with the space pirates on planet Zebes. They've tasked Samus with the mission of eradicating every last Metroid on their home planet of SR-388. But as soon as Samus explores the cavernous depths of the planet, she realizes that the Metroids have a life cycle that makes them far more deadly than she first thought. It's a straightforward plot with little room for additions since the Game Boy original. There are a few instances here and there, but the main gameplay is unburdened by any heavy storytelling. Cutscenes are often used to establish a new threat or slightly expand upon what came before. The most exciting examples are those that create a better connection to what comes after this game. And honestly, that's how it should be. Samus, on her own, against impossible odds. It's great stuff. And it's bolstered by the excellent gameplay. The original Metroid 2 suffers from many of the same issues that plagued Metroid on the NES. Fun could be had, but it was easy to get lost without creating your own map, and it feels incredibly slow. That's not the case here. Samus is fast, fluid, and feels great to control. Every movement feels perfect with the exception of kneeling to go into the morph ball. Since Samus can only be controlled with the circle pad, it feels like it doesn't quite register every time. However, a quick tap of the bottom screen instantly puts her into the morph ball and out, making it more of a non-issue. That's just movement though, as Samus can use various other techniques, both new and old. First of all, Samus can now aim in all directions. She can't move while doing this, but the added accuracy does help, and the laser sight will glow red when an enemy is targeted. It adds versatility to the combat, as I was often able to clear enemies before they even became a problem, at least when I got the proper beam upgrades. There's also the new Aeon powers. These allow you to chart out the map and see breakable objects, protect you from damage at the cost of draining your Aeon energy, supercharge the beam cannon to sound out a fast and consistent attack, and even slow down time. At first, I didn't think they'd be necessary to the adventure, more like they were bonuses for newcomers to help make the experience easier. And while that could be said for the Scan Pulse, the others all had their uses that were needed to progress. It helped make them feel more essential than they seemed at first glance. They were necessary in exploration and gathering all of the item expansions, and for defeating certain enemies earlier on. Each was an excellent tool that helped make the game feel different, as all the other upgrades Samus can discover are taken from other games in the series. But the biggest change is the melee counter. Almost every enemy in the game can attempt a physical attack, and just before this, they'll glow white. If you perform the counter at just the right time, Samus will knock them out of the attack and leave them wide open for a doubly powerful counter. It's one of the quickest ways to take down enemies, and even leaves those with hard shells wide open. The melee counter proved to be quite tricky to get down at first, but once you have the hang of it, it's incredibly potent and will save you more often than not. It is a wonderful addition to the series and something I really want to see come back in the future. While I was worried it would make the game too easy, that never became an issue. Samus Returns can be surprisingly challenging at times, at least on your first attempt. I died way more than I ever expected, but there is a checkpoint system that helps make the deaths not quite as punishing as they've been in the past. The big problem though is that cutscenes aren't skippable, so there might be a big introduction for a new kind of Metroid that proves to be too challenging and you die. You'll be brought back just before the fight occurred, but that same scene will play out. And if you get really stuck there, as I did with a certain boss, you'll quickly grow tired of seeing it over and over again. But that's a rare misstep in a game that is simply a joy to play. Returning to the exploration of past games and using new abilities to find more items never gets old. But the structure of Samus Returns might turn off some Metroid fans. It's not a purely open game and is structured more like Metroid Fusion, where each area was its own section to explore. It makes the game feel more guided, especially since you must hunt down every Metroid in that area in order to continue on. Thankfully, a new teleport system is implemented, making backtracking a breeze. And fighting the Metroids themselves is fun. Each one is like a mini-boss, and they've been expanded to be much more of a challenge. They also have a way to prevent you from constantly using the melee counter to wear them down, as some will be charged with electrical or fire energy. And the first time I fought each new type of Metroid really felt like I was figuring out a new puzzle. And that's the same for all the bosses and even common enemies. Standard encounters have new attack patterns that make them feel recognizable to the original, but decidedly different. And the new bosses can be tough, but I had so much fun figuring out what I needed to do to win. Really, the only major issue I came across was in gathering certain items. Each one was hidden behind a set of red spikes with no clear way of getting past. It took a collective of other reviewers pooling the info they discovered to finally figure out what it took. That's not a problem in and of itself, but there was no clear indication of what needed to be done. Of course, in retrospect it seems obvious, but it was a pain to decipher before that point. It's also quite the meaty experience. It took around 12 hours for me to beat the game my first time, while exploring as much as possible. But experienced players could easily cut that first playthrough down to 6. Collecting everything also unlocks Chozo lore, which offers pictures showing what the Chozo race did on SR388 before the events of Samus Returns. Add in an unlockable hard difficulty and it feels like there's plenty to do for Metroid fans. But I am worried that the higher difficulty of even a normal playthrough might be too much for newcomers. Practice would help them get through it, but some could still end up frustrated. Still, I think the gameplay would win most of them over. Beyond the gameplay, Samus Returns looks incredible on the 3DS. Samus's animations are fluid and fast, and the backgrounds really help in making SR388 feel like a real place. I also highly recommend playing in 3D if you're able, as it enhances not only the action, but the places you visit along the way. And even on the original 3DS, there was never a hint of slowdown or the game struggling to keep up. It's incredibly impressive how the developers at Mercury Steam managed to make the 3D models work in a 2D game. The sound design is just as good with classic songs being remade and keeping the minimalist tone of many of the areas. But when things pick up, it's just as exciting as ever. The sound effects are punchy as well, really showing the power of Samus's arsenal. There's no doubt in my mind that Metroid Samus Returns will be held up in the same regard as Zero Mission. It is an excellent example of how to expand upon what came before, while also adding both elements from later games and gameplay unique to itself. While it has some minor issues here and there, I still love this game. It is the best version of Metroid 2 by far, and an excellent way to bring back the Metroid series. I'm totally ready for a new 2D Metroid adventure in this style, and can only hope that it happens soon. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Metroid and other things gaming.